Are you ready, love?
Do you have an accent?
Yes, I do.
Since when?
It it's my new thing.
Leia, you don't have an accent. Well, I mean, you do, American, but that's not your accent.
No, now I have this one.
I don't think that's how that works.
Fine. Is this better for you?
Leia,
What?
you just need to be yourself.
Now that's easier said than done, now ain't it?
I'm Lamont, and I am truly myself, one of a kind.
And I'm Leah, the Almighty.
And you're tuning into the Lamont and Leah podcast. So today, Leah, we're going to talk about cultivating authenticity. And to help us talk about cultivating authenticity, I've invited a guest, a fellow named Jarrett Flannagan. His podcast is called The White Pants Society. His podcast is about his personal journey with addiction, recovery, mental health. And again, we're just going to dive into like what is authenticity, what gets in the way of developing it, and how can we start to use it and develop it and cultivate it for ourselves. So are you excited?
Yeah. I'm honestly, I'm getting a little worked up.
Oh,
This is a subject for me.
it'll be fine. It'll
But
be
it's
fine,
okay.
I promise you. All right,
right.
well, let's go get him.
Okay, sounds good.
Jared, thank you so much for coming on the Lamont and Leah podcast.
Thanks
Will
for
you?
having me.
No problem at all. Will you please take a moment to introduce yourself to our listener and viewer audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Name is Jared Flannagan. That's the government. But most of my friends call me Flan or J. Flan. I'm the host of the What Is TWS podcast. So that's a weekly podcast where I pretty much just take you through my personal journey. I'm a suicide attempt survivor, recovering alcoholic, washed up rapper, and most importantly, I guess I'm a dad. But yeah, I just take you through my weekly journey through life, and what I got going on. Hoping that hopefully somebody can relate to some of the things I talk about, and maybe I can play the tape forward for them and help spare somebody some of the things I've seen.
That's real awesome. That's great work.
Appreciate it. I try to keep it some levity there too, like not that serious.
So today's main topic is cultivating authenticity. So I feel like we should start with what is authenticity, or how would you personally define authenticity for yourself?
Yeah. So for me, like I said, I spent a lot of years, I guess, not really knowing who I was and kind of adjusting my personality for whoever I was around or whatever I felt the situation called for. And so today in my life, what authenticity means to me is narrowing the gap between who I am when no one's around, and who I am when there are eyes on me or the lights are on, and being able to be the same person in both situations. Allows me a lot of freedom, allows me to actually have real relationships and real connections with people. When I'm not living in that space, you're not actually talking to me, so we're not really connecting, and that isolation can lead to some dark places. So, authenticity to me is extremely important, and it's a core principle in the way I live today.
Very cool. As you were speaking, I kind of like, there's a quote from childhood, or like a saying that adults say, like something along the lines of, are you acting the same, or would you do the same thing or behave the same way if someone wasn't watching you?
Right.
Kind of like, And I've actually challenged myself sometimes, like growing up throughout the years, tested myself, where it's like I was gonna do something. I was like, wait, would I do this if I was being watched? And I just take a moment to like just sit in that, and then I make a decision.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, I mean, I think we all do it. We all, subconsciously kind of switch, personalities depending on where we are. I mean, we do the code switching with, who you are at home versus who you are at work. And so I think there's always going to be a little gap there, but narrowing that gap and getting as close as possible to being, honest enough with yourself and honest enough with the people around you to be you. We talk a lot these days about freedom, and people want freedom and don't want anything encroaching upon that freedom. I think the ultimate freedom is being able to be who you are at all times and not have to compromise that in any way for anyone around you. But it takes work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of honesty first and foremost.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Leia, how would you define authenticity for yourself?
Um, I was reading the outline and I was trying to think of like an answer to that. Um, it, it kind of reminded me of like when I was growing up. So I was always like the weird girl.
A little bit, just a little.
So, and I know like in middle school and in parts of high school that really bothered me. Like I just wanted to be normal. Like I wanted to be like everyone else and fit in. And my mom would always just be like, just be yourself and they'll like you. And I'm like, mm-hmm, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. But I mean, I've kind of just embraced being the weird girl now and I love it. But so it just reminded me of that. So I guess to define authenticity, I really liked what you said, Jared, when you said something about how you are trying to like be the same person outwardly as you are. You said something about lights. I can't remember exactly what you said. But I know when you said it, I was like, oh, I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Still being you when the lights are on, when the eyes are on you. Yeah,
There you go. Yes, I liked that.
Right. Not like not being afraid or changing because of that fear, right?
Hmm.
I guess for me, authenticity means, and Jared, you already said this, being honest, doing the work, right? And if I'm honest and I sit in that honesty and I challenge myself to, like, I might like want to run or hide. I'm like, no, like, stay and face it and don't be afraid of your feeling. Lean into that feeling. These are some things I tell myself in my head when I'm warring with myself, right? Like, um, and it's taking that moment to be honest and then communicating it, right?
yeah,
And taking responsibility or accountability for things I say, things I do, how I respond, and hopefully building that trust. It didn't. It's like all of this together that creates an authentic person, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, and it's a struggle these days. There's a lot of I guess pressure to conform. It's really weird. Like we have this whole idea of of being different and being outside the box. I think of like Apple when I was. This is aging me a little bit. When I was, I remember there being Apple commercials where like IBM was Big Brother, and then the Apple lady would run in with a sledgehammer and she like throw it against the screen and the screen would shatter. It's like don't be like everybody else, be different and get an Apple. And now it's like Apple is the thing that like everybody. You're just another one of the Apple company, customers when you have a an iPhone or whatever. But there's this pressure to like be different, but in being different, almost conforming. Like you have to be different, so be different like this. Be different the way I want you to be
Hmm.
different, or be
Right.
different in this avenue. And so yeah, it's difficult to just realize that you don't have to try to be different. Just by nature, you are different. So just you don't have to be anything. Just you already are it. So just be yourself. Just live, and live without fear, like you said, without that fear of you know how that's going to be accepted or how that's going to be, approached.
Right. I love that. I love that. The idea of you need to be different, but you need to have an apple, right? But how am I going to be different with my apple if everyone else has an apple? And so, how am I going to be different, or how am I going to show up as a student, as a coworker, when everyone else is a student and a coworker? Or whatever your challenge might be, or whatever your situation might be, like, what is that in culture called? Like, it is definitely a concept. I don't know what it's called, but there is this concept of, like, don't copy that person. Do your own thing. Be unique, but don't be too unique.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What do we call that?
That'd be interesting to find a word for. But yeah, I definitely,
Hypocrisy.
have felt that box that, they want you to be outside the box, but still within this other box. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, don't go too far.
Like, to quote my boss, like, I don't want to stifle your creativity. I want you to think out of the box, but you do have to stay in these parameters. And like, there's safety and those parameters and like things you don't want to cross because that causes a bigger problem. So I get it, but it's like, dang, So, all right. So, now that we've all defined authenticity for ourselves, and listeners and viewers, if you guys are watching or listening, let us know what your definition of authenticity is. I would definitely like to see how you guys make that work for you. What gets in the way of developing authenticity?
I think, Leah, like you were saying, just in the way we're brought up, there's a lot of pressure to find a way to fit in. Like, not fitting in, as much as people like encourage you to do it, just be yourself. They'll like you anyway. It's a hard life, as a kid, to just, if you're really gonna embrace that and live outside that box. It's a hard life. Like, not feeling like you really have any community or anyone that you can associate with. And I like, again, what you said, Leah. I feel like I spent the majority of my life upset because I couldn't find anybody that was like me, and that I didn't have like this group to identify with. And now it's like, it's my badge of honor. Like, there's no one like me. You can't be like me. You can't be like me. I'm that, special and an individual. But growing up, that is very difficult to do, because not having that, that's a natural thing to want, is a sense of community. And sometimes being authentically you, being honest about who you are in public, you're not always going to feel like it's there for you. Um, and just hopefully you have a support system around you that, even if they aren't, they can't identify with your uniqueness, they can appreciate it and, and love you regardless. But yeah, we live in a society where that's not always readily available. So it's a hard road sometimes to be authentic.
So I think fear is a big player or a big component of something that gets in the way of authenticity. Comparison too.
Yeah.
Scared to be different or comparing yourself to other people. These things I feel get in the way for me. What about you, Leia?
Well, as the resident people pleaser, uh, I don't want to piss people off. I don't want to make them upset. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. So, I mean, sometimes I can be a lot. And I know some people are a little more sensitive to it. So I just kind of like tone it down or just turn it off sometimes, like especially in the workplace. Turn that off. So yeah, for me, it's just I don't want to upset people.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of external forces at play too that dictate everything from how we're supposed to, like, how much we're supposed to weigh and how our houses are supposed to look like. Just as examples, minor examples, and we have to fight those, or we have to combat those, or we come up to face those things.
I think, at least from my point of view, I think a lot of the reasons why people can't be like their authentic selves are external forces. Like, I think even the ones that we deem like internal are still brought upon by external forces. Like, oh, well, in high school, I used to straighten my hair every day because I was like, oh, my frizzy hair is not nice, you know? Like, it looks weird. It's not what it's supposed to look like. And, you know, people would think, oh, well, that's you internally being insecure. But, like, how did I get that insecurity when I'm Polynesian? My mom's hair looks like this. My grandpa's hair looks like this. My brother's hair looks like this. Like, so that's like an external force, like a previous external force that became an insecurity of mine. So
Yeah. So again, like I'm just hearing the need to fit in.
but I like my frizzy hair now. I just want to put that in there.
Like I like my individuality.
I like my frizzy hair.
No, Leia, I think you bring up a good point because remember that short period of time where I was always trying to make my hair straight enough so I could spike it, which was fun because I wanted to spike my hair. I wanted to be a black boy who spiked my hair, but also that need to like be cool enough to spike my hair, right?
Yo, but I liked your spiky hair, man. It's one of my favorite photos I have of you.
Yeah, if there's a place I wish I could be like more of myself, it would. I don't know what it is about hair, but I'd be in that same boat. Like I wish I could just, have the confidence for a long enough period of time to do something different. Be getting the same cut for like 30 years, and I want to do something different, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm work in progress.
Yeah. No, like side since we're talking about hair, like a sideline thing. Like I see some of these really cool wigs, I'm like, I never thought of guys wearing wigs, and like they're developing all these like guy wigs. I'm like, should I like be rocking different like hairdos? Like go to one school, show with one kind of hairstyle, they go to another school.
Do it.
They're like,
Do it.
but I'm sorry. We're getting off the topic.
Okay, back to the actual topic, which was what gets in the way of developing authenticity.
Right. What are some of the things that get in the way? So, let's talk about like things that get in the way for women, and maybe some of the things that get in the way for men.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
All right.
As the resident woman. Well, in a professional setting, things that get in the way are the need to be professional at all times, like no matter what, because for some reason people don't want to, at least from my point of view, people don't want to take you seriously as a female in the professional setting. Especially for me, because I look a lot younger than most people I work with. They don't want to take me seriously. So I have to act 100% professional at all the times. And it's so tiring. And I'm very not professional, unfortunately. But
And so, maybe sometimes for women, the like look attractive at all times while maintaining being professional, and while keeping yourself quiet and small.
yeah, I've seen that. Not for me, but
Yeah, but like I feel like
seen
that's some women's battles, right?
my boss is kind of like that, man.
Like where she has to like be mighty, but like not too mighty.
Yeah, like there was this side note. There was this guy who was giving both of us attitude when we were trying to do a photo shoot. And he's been a real jerk, man. Like, I was not happy. And instead of defending me, she just kind of like heard what he said and then turned to me and goes, okay, we can make that happen, right? And I was like, who are you? Where is this lady that gets on my case every 2 seconds? Disappeared out of the air. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am.
So you felt like in that instance she made herself smaller.
Mm-hmm.
To fit the need of the, I guess, client.
He's like the same level as her, so I don't know what her like he wasn't a boss, he wasn't a supervisor, like probably in the same level, different sides of the company, but still, I was like, what the hell?
No, I mean, I feel like I can somewhat relate. 'Cause you have that whole professionalism battle just like weighs on you. For some reason, in the circles I run with, I have this reputation of being like the whitest black person most people know, and so and that carries over into work, and people who may have conversations with me on instant message and then meet me or may make the comment, oh, I never, you're not what I expected, and I know what it means. Um, and then usually when I get those comments about me, be me being white or coming across white, then there's this pressure to like blacken up real fast, and I don't know. All of a sudden now I want to use slang or maybe curse more often than I would, do something unprofessional because somehow my professionalism doesn't match my ethnicity or
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and it in the moment robs you of that authenticity. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am black, and this is who I am. So I am being black because I am. Like you can't say the way I'm acting is not black because that is who I am. You
Mm-hmm.
can't, you don't get to dictate that. But there is that pressure to, fit in one of these boxes. And if I'm not in this box, then I'm in that box, or I'm pretending to be in another box. And yeah, it definitely gets stressful. It definitely puts me in corners where I feel like I have to like act out and, trying to get past that and just not. That's another part of to me about, the topic of authenticity is a lot of times it requires um, just being okay with how someone else may see you. If you are being authentically who you are and representing yourself, if somebody else doesn't see you that way, it's really not your issue. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
you can do about it. It's outside of your control. And when we get caught up in trying to make sure you see me the way I want to be seen,
Right.
uh, you know, it robs you of something.
Yeah, and honestly, like that's been my struggle for the longest time. I recently started therapy early this summer, and I think that was the first issue that came up was people perceiving me or misperceiving me
Mm-hmm.
and like how they view me and how it bothers me. And it's like especially when I go out my way to be nice, like I don't want to get into like all my emotional drama, but like it was so important and my so rude. Like he made me face my fear, like what was going on. But so I'm saying so rude. But my therapist, he was like, so if people misperceive you, what does that say about you? And I want you to sit with that, and I want you to like think about it and dig deep. And I did, and it hurt, but I'm better. I'm better for it. I'm better for it. So.
I remember you bringing that up when we were still young, like when we were doing the Lamont N Leah show. I remember
Oh
you
yeah,
talking about
like
that. Yeah.
how like people view me and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Something I've kind of like developed for myself over the last few years is like an attitude of like that's their problem. Like if they're not perceiving you how you want to be perceived, or like if they have a problem with the way you're acting, like that's not your problem to worry about. They can control their own emotions and, you know, get over it. I'm living my life, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's outside of your control. And once you get wrapped up in trying to control it, you pretty much hand your life over to somebody else. Yeah, you live at their beck and call.
Hmm.
Dancing, however it is. They want to see you. My mom used to say something to me as a kid that I hated, and now like, it rings true. And not to be too religious, but she used to say like, Jesus Christ was perfect, and they crucified him. So what makes you think you'll ever be something that somebody isn't gonna have a problem with? It doesn't matter. So you just have to be you. But it's easier said than done. But yeah, it requires taking those consequences sometimes.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. All right, so I know for some men, like their authenticity gets shut down, or something that gets in the way, is this message of control your feelings, be in control at all times. Don't feel certain things.
Oh my
because that's not manly, right? So I know some men go through that.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves, bro. Like, like all the time. Like, um, do I want to put him on blast? Hell yeah. Okay, so Kavika's dad used to get on his. Kavika's my brother, Jared.
Okay.
Um, he used to get on Kavika's case all the time because my brother, growing up, was a very sensitive person.
Yeah,
Loved that about him. Like,
I
I
so love
thought that was such a great thing to have because I didn't see it in kids our age and whatever. And he used to pick on him. Like, his dad used to pick on him and be like, you need to be more manly. And my mom would be like, hold up. No, he's upset because of whatever. He needs to tell you why he's upset. You know, like, oh, but yeah, that gets on my like that gets on my nerves all the time. I hate that like stereotype. Mm-mm.
And
yeah.
but it,
Go ahead, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I mean, in practice, it really is a struggle. There aren't a lot of places for men to take off the mask and be like, vulnerable. There aren't. I mean, even with your spouse, I'm divorced now, but you know, having a conversation with your wife, admitting that whatever situation you guys may be in, financial or whatever, that you're scared, you don't have a plan, you don't know what to do. Like, people don't really want to hear that from a guy, and there's not a lot of places you can go and like say that comfortably. You really even can't even say it around your friends. When I was struggling, with my alcoholism and everything, like, I think I told another podcast, it's like it was easier for my friends to see me as the guy who drank way too much than it was for them to see me as the guy who was depressed. So I
Right.
could go places and like overdrink, and they're gonna make fun of me, and that was gonna be cool, but that was gonna be way easier than if I was like, I'm depressed. I'm like, dude, what you sad? Stop crying. Get over it. Move on. So there just aren't many spaces where we get to do it and feel safe enough to do it. So it's I don't know. Yeah, I would like to create more of those safe spaces for guys to be authentic, because it's not like it's not human to not fear, but you almost have to act like you don't feel fear. You're never afraid. You're never worried. You're never scared. You never don't know what to do. I think Kevin Hart used to, make a joke about, if you're in a movie theater and a fire breaks out, she gonna look at you like, what are we gonna do? Like, you, and in that moment, you can't be like, I don't know, it's a fire. I'm scared too. You just gotta, So I don't know, that pressure just seems to, like, you're just born with it, or I don't know. Yeah, I I think there need to be more safe spaces for guys to be authentic in that way.
Mhm.
Um, and I wish I knew how to create more of
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I try to like inspire that within my siblings too. Cause our youngest brother, he's got a lot of feelings as well, and I can already see the older boys going, "Well, you need to suck it up." I'm like, "No, you need to figure out why he's upset first." Like, and then if it's ridiculous, then I mean,
But
he
no,
he gets upset over stupid stuff though.
does
Like,
he?
oh my, someone else is watching TV. Like, okay, come on.
Okay. No, like, okay, so as a like my poor heart's beating. Like, as a person who works with children, K through 12, and I teach like emotional learning and stuff, like, yeah, I want to validate, like, oh, you're upset because someone else is watching TV. It bothers you. Like, that's valid. You're feeling that. How are you gonna handle that in a healthy way though? Like not calm down, shut down those feelings. Like, no, like, okay, you're annoyed. It's okay for you to be annoyed. How are you gonna handle it? Like,
Yeah.
it. And I like that, because I think we play like the trauma Olympics all the time. If you're going through something, if you got a stab wound, and then you see somebody who just got shot, all of a sudden you feel like your stab wound isn't that important, but they're both, injuries. And if they're not treated or cared for, things can go way wrong. And so, yeah, like, it's like, yeah, somebody else is watching TV. It doesn't sound like a big problem, but you know, trauma is relative. It's a big problem to them, and in that moment,
Yeah.
it needs to be addressed.
Good point.
so like just like deregulate, be like, okay, so you're annoyed, so let's do some deep breathing. He probably won't do deep breathing, just knowing who who we're talking about. But like, find a way to like get them to calm down and like really think about it and be like, hey, like, if you do this, if you choose this bad behavior and you choose to pout or whatever, not bad behavior, but like, if you choose this behavior, is that going to get you what you want? Probably not. It's probably going to make the situation worse. So you can go ahead and do that behavior, but it's probably not going to benefit you. How can you better survive this and feel better? You know? But I love that little guy. He's one of my favorite people.
But
All right. So, but we are conditioned in this world with so many things. And because we're conditioned, practicing authenticity can come with shame triggers. Like you were saying, Jared, instead of saying like, hey guys, you know, I'm super depressed, it's like, I rather them see me as the drinker because they're just going to tell me to shut up. Like, get over it. Like there's nothing wrong with you, or there's so much more world in the wrong. Like, are you starving? No.
Right.
Do you have a roof? No. Yes. Do you have clothes? Yes. Like no. Like, what's going on, Jared? Like,
They
let's
hit you with
talk.
the first world problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to show up and be authentic, especially if you don't feel like it is safe around those people. So do the people that you are around can be a barrier to being more authentic. And if that's the case, then maybe you should change the people that you're hanging around with.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
You shouldn't have to live feeling like you can't be yourself, especially around the people who you care about and that you think care about you. That should absolutely be a safe space. And if it isn't, you know, if you can change it, make that change. It's tough.
Yeah.
I had to move like 1,500 miles away.
I think, Lamont, we should take a break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we can go over ways to continue or like start to develop authenticity.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. Lamont, this week we are going to be talking about our weekly obsessions.
All right.
We did this a while ago. I thought it'd be nice to bring it back.
We did do this a while ago. I think I was listening to an audiobook about wolves.
I think so, yes.
Wolf shifters, yeah.
So, what are you into this week, Lamont?
So, finished so many episodes. Like, I finished Beauty and the Beast on Netflix. It was a series about a cop and this beast. I finished the newest season of American, what's it called? American
Woman. Dun, 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 dun. American Woman.
Okay, I'll come back to that one.
Okay.
'Cause I can't think of what it's called. I finished Charmed. The newest season of Charmed. Let me see.
So Lamont's
And-
weekly obsession is Netflix and chill.
Yeah, like I've been just finishing a lot of like different things.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And then I'm still listening to audiobooks. I'm listening to this new audiobook series. It's about a high school series, and so it's like these old, like bringing up some old feelings. I'm like thinking about high school and stuff. But it's okay. It's all good. Right now they're at summer camp. And I'm just like, oh, I went to summer camp after I graduated high school. So. But that's what I've been doing. What about you, Leah?
So this week I've really been into. I just started Instacart,
Oh, how's
which
that working?
is a grocery delivery service. I love it so far. I've always really liked driving. Like when I'm stressed, I'll go for a drive and just sit by myself, be with myself, you know. So that's been really nice. And then I also have this thing about like puzzles and like finding stuff. Like I always play those games with like side quests because I like to find the hidden whatever. And so the grocery shopping part has been kind of like that for me. So I've just been really leaning into it. Plus there's money involved, so I get paid.
Cool.
um that has been mostly this week's obsession, and possibly spending time with Patrick.
Aww. Did you do anything nice for him?
um I mean, we went out and we had like kind of like a picnic the other day, and it's just been nice because we've both been really busy, so we've just spending a lot of time this week together, and it
Was
was
the
nice.
picnic your idea or was it his idea?
It's kind of mutual. We're both like, let's go do
Oh.
something. And I was like, well, I want a snack. And he's like, okay, well, I want to eat, so let's eat. And I was like, cool. We should go somewhere to eat. Well, but like not in a restaurant because COVID. And then we both agreed on a park and we went and got our food, sat there. It was nice.
Very nice.
Yes. All right.
All right. Let us know what your weekly obsession is.
Yes. Please.
Or this
in the
week's
comments.
obsession.
Yeah. What's this week's obsession? God. All right. Welcome back. Now, like I said, we are going to discuss some steps we can take to start or continue to develop authenticity. Lamont, would you like to start us off with some ways we can do that?
So, one way that Jared mentioned earlier and that I totally agreed with was being honest. And, like some people like to go off the deep end when they're being honest. So, I'm not saying being rude or disrespectful, but being honest with yourself, what's going on inside you, and then looking at, like, how is that coloring my situation or the situation that's happening? And can I communicate this appropriately? And if I can't, I should take a break before I try communicating it. So, being honest and taking the time to like shift through your feelings. That is one way a person could start to like connect with authenticity and developing it. What are some other ways for you guys?
I mean, yeah, just to piggyback off the honesty thing is, I think a lot of times when we talk about being honest with ourselves, we think of it almost purely in like a negative connotation, like be honest about your shortcomings, or be honest about what you're not so good at, or be honest about
Mm-hmm.
your limitations. I think people also have to be honest about, you know, what's good with them. Like you are that talented, um, or you are that well spoken, or you are that, that professional. Like you have to uh, also embrace the good things about you and not shy away from those things, or not avoid circumstances or situations where you could shine because you don't believe that you are what other people actually see. Sometimes you do have to look at how people see you, and maybe that is in you. Whether or not you want to embrace it yourself. I think I ran from a couple things because it felt like pressure. So like if I accepted that I was possibly good at something, and now I have a pressure to perform, and I didn't want that pressure, so I would run from those things. And so yeah, I think the honesty not only includes limitations and shortcomings, but it also includes understanding what you can do and what you are very good at, and that and like I said, you don't have to be different. You are different. You don't have to be impressive. You are impressive, and just live in that.
Well said.
I like that. Embrace, embracing the good things about yourself. I like that. I think a lot of people are scared to do that too because they think like, oh, well, that's being like boastful, you
Yeah.
know? But it's just like, but that is who you are. So like there shouldn't be any shame in being good at something.
Yeah, we got too many words for that. Like, I told somebody I was writing a book, and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty narcissistic of you." Like, gee, I can't like think I have something interesting to say without
Right?
being a narcissist. Like, that's a little, that's an extreme. But yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah, you have to fight that because people will try to, knock you down if they see you being something that they wish they could be.
Mm. Good point. Good point. Um let's see. For me, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, Lamont, but like maybe it was last week. Can't remember. Uh but when you are like thinking something, I read somewhere that like the first thought you have sometimes is not what you think about the situation.
Right.
It's
Right.
what you've been influenced to think about it. What can we use as an example? My hair, again, we'll just bring it back up. You know, every once in a while I'll pass myself like in a mirror and be like, whoa, I look crazy. And then, you know, I'll think like my second thought is like, no, actually, I kind of like it. I don't know where I read that, but I've found that to be real, like, kind of true every once in a while. Like, I'll have a thought, and then if I just let it sit for a second, usually I'll have an additional thought that's like, no, that's not really what we think. That's what everyone else is telling me I need to think.
Yeah. So I like to call that an emotional reaction, right? So you have a initial reaction, an initial or emotional reaction, and then you have a more mindful reaction, right? So the first one's like, ah, and like you might hear a lot of bad things, and then like you sit and then you're mindful, and then you're like, oh wait, no, like maybe I can think about it better this way.
I think it can go like the hair thing was a little superficial, but I think it goes a little deeper to trying to think of an example that's like not crazy. uh okay, you see like a lady, she's driving, she's, you know, she's not doing a good job. And you're like, ugh, typical woman. Can't drive.
Okay.
But then you're like, no.
Right.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
She's just herself. This one individual is just not a good driver.
So that was an emotional. No, sorry, that was your initial reaction or your emotional reaction. And you're like, wait, no, let's reverse that. That's
Like,
not okay.
that's not okay.
That's your mindful reaction, right, or thought
Yeah.
process.
My first thought is always horrible. I always have to have that filter ready.
Yeah. So here today on the Lamont N Leah podcast, we are here to tell you it's okay to have a initial reaction, whether it be positive or negative or whatever, because it's a process, right? You have it, then you go into your mindful one. Some of us, if we're not getting there, we need to work on getting to that second part, right? But yeah, so it's okay to have that and work that way. So let's talk about engaging with people. I feel like to be authentic, be able to engage with people and engage with them well. If you're the type of person that's not engaging well with other people, often, there's probably something that you need to work on, and that's okay. You need to figure out what that is, work on, and try again. I'm not saying you're gonna like everyone. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to be nice to everyone or like be overly positive with everyone. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're interacting or engaging with people, you should be able to feel those people. If you're not feeling those people, then there might be an issue, or if you're having trouble engaging, there might be an issue. And I encourage you to explore what that's about and see if you can make change.
Yeah, like for me, it takes practice. I have to practice interaction, and like podcasting for me, I do a solo show. I used to have a co-host, but now my shows are solo, and it's almost practice. I'm getting used to who I am by myself, so that when I'm around you, I know it's default. You know, it's not something I have to think about, not something I have to figure out what to say, because that would prevent me from having interactions with people. I'd be standing there like I don't even know how to begin this conversation. I don't know how to say hello, or I don't know, the words are gonna get messed up. And sitting, it sounds weird sitting talking to myself for half an hour a week has made it way easier, to talk to other people, because I know who I am at this point just from practice of just being me by myself. It's weird. Podcasting is like being by yourself in public. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's with Leah and I. It's being part of being best friends and brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
like wow, these guys are weird.
I think that's a really kind of like a good point going off of what you just said. Like spending time with yourself. I know Lamont just said, "Oh, we need to engage with people," but now I'm like, no, let's spend time with ourselves. But like figuring out who you are, like self-reflection, self-internalization, and if it's like stuff you don't enjoy, you can always change that too. Um, and yeah, I think people need to spend more time with themselves as well.
Yeah, Leia, I agree with you because those are the times to test yourself. Because when you're spending time with yourself and you're discovering things about yourself, you're becoming more aware of yourself and how you operate in this world and how you behave and how you impact people's life.
Exactly.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to know who you are to be able to be who you are in front of anyone else.
Right. And then when you learn to stop, like when you learn to suspend judgment on yourself, hopefully that can translate over to other people.
Yeah.
Because we're so hard on ourselves and we are hard on other people sometimes. And to me, that's consideration. That is respect. And I feel like authentic people, they treat everyone with respect, even the people that may not deserve it, or even the people that might be coming at you sideways. They can still respect that person and be like, no, this is not appropriate. This is not okay. Maybe we need to disengage disrespecting you or trying to shut or make you feel bad,
Yeah.
you know?
I think self-reflection can also help with if you like struggle with judging others, which a lot of people do. Like that's kind of just what humans do, unfortunately. But I've noticed a lot of people who judge hard on others. It's a lot of like internalized stuff. So I know a lot of people who have self-image issues usually bring up image stuff. Like, oh, well, you're fat. Like stuff like that. And usually you'll find out that they're insecure about their weight or the way they look and stuff like that. That's just an example. But I've noticed since doing a lot more like self-reflection and whatnot, I'm less like that. if
Great. You're becoming less judgmental. That's great.
Yeah. So
it's a process. It's a process.
It is a process.
It is a process.
So next week, Leia and I are going to be talking about personality tests like the Myers-Briggs. Actually, we will be talking about the Myers-Briggs more specifically.
Yeah.
But that is also a good way to learn about yourself and your personality, and taking tests and like different types of personality tests because there's so many out there. Finding out, discovering, deep diving more into you and who you are. I like that idea. We study so many different things. How about we study ourselves and become experts on ourselves?
Scary.
It can be
Yeah,
scary.
it's scary.
It can be scary. It is an undertaking.
Just close that box. No thanks.
Okay, so that kind of reminds me of a scene from Will and Grace,
Of course.
where Karen, I love Karen so much. I don't think I would ever be able to like deal with a real Karen like the one in Will and Grace in real life, but that character is so fabulous.
Is that why they call Karens Karens?
Maybe.
Might be onto something.
Maybe.
Okay, anyway.
But anyways, okay, so for those of you who have never seen Will and Grace is a best friend, like a straight gay best friends, and there's a side character named Karen, and she's rich and doesn't really care about people, and she's all about like clothing and designs. And there was one time where Will's a lawyer, and so he's like, Karen, I know you. We've been friends for so long. Like, you don't have to put up a wall with me. Why don't we take out one of those bricks? Just one. And so she removes it, and she goes, he's like, put it back! And then, like, in a later scene, scene, she's like, "What did you do to me?" It can be like that. So that when you said like put it in a box and shove the box aside, it made me think of taking the brick out and like putting it back.
Dude, I'm almost certain you brought up that same scene in the Lamont and Leah show. Like, I remember that,
Maybe.
like, vividly.
Maybe. Possibly.
It's a good show.
It's a fun show. I didn't watch the reboot. I refuse to watch the reboot.
Gotta give it a chance, Lamont.
I don't like. So I think the actress Rosario died, so they have a new like British maid, and then like I was mad because the way they ended it was so amazing, and then to find out like, oh, it was all a dream. It didn't really end that way, and so Will and Vince never had a son, and Grace and Leo never really had a daughter, and their children never like got together in college. Like, what? No, you're gonna erase all of that greatness? No, I'm not down for this. I've been like stubborn, like I'm not watching it. And it's fine, but maybe one day. And I don't know why we're off topic again. but yeah,
Happens every time.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Anyone have any other ideas on how to start or continue to develop your authenticity?
So we've covered being honest, engage with other people. We've covered spending time with yourself, testing yourself, getting to know, like doing a deep dive and study of what you like, and treating and learning to treat other people with respect. Anything else?
I feel like that covers, a lot of it. And yeah, just be willing and to ask for help.
Yeah.
If you run into things in these moments of discovery and then some of the self-reflection that scares you, that you don't know how to approach, that you don't know how to take steps toward resolving, ask for help, reach out. There are people out there that want to do it.
Don't close the box. Don't put it away.
Keep the brick down.
Yeah. That reminded me of a few weeks ago when we were talking about trust. But like, so these have been ways on how to develop or start developing authenticity for yourself. But I think we also owe it to the people around us that trust us and love us to be a safe space for them. I know we talked about that earlier.
We did.
Allowing people to feel their feelings, allow them to like, if you can mentally handle it, have discussions about those types of things with you and etc. So that just reminded me of it. Tack that on at the end.
Yeah. It's so important to be a safe space for other people. And hopefully they're being a safe space for you. And if it's not happening, I encourage you to find people who will be a safe space.
And then go listen to our episode on trust. Plug in it.
So Jared, thank you so much for talking with us today. It was so nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was a great discussion, and there are things that you don't really understand until you try to explain them to someone else. I've learned a lot about even some of the points I thought I had trying to articulate them here. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And if other people want to appreciate you or get in contact with you to have you on their podcasts or go more in a conversation with you, what would be the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so I have the podcast, What is TWS, all one word. So you can go to whatistws.com, check out podcast episodes. I have a contact me page there. Also have a ask me anything, which you can do anonymously. I don't have all the answers, but I'll come up with one, and I'm sure it'll be entertaining. So if you have a question, just ask. And then, my email address is flan, Flan, at whatistws.com. You can email me there. For anything. If anyone ever needs to reach out for anything, I don't want anyone to ever feel alone or that, if I can be a safe space for someone, I'm more than willing to do it. So any of those places, what is TWS? Anywhere you find dope content, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, just look for me. I'm there. And if you need to reach out, I'm here.
Awesome.
All
And of
right.
course, we'll have everything linked below so you guys can just click on your social media of choice.
Great. Do you have any special projects that you are currently working on that you would like to share with us?
I'm just, this, my goal for this year was to be consistent. So I haven't missed a week of the podcast, and I'm trying to finish out the year that way. So if you want to listen, uh, and there'll be more every week. I'm not letting the streak die. So yeah, just check me out. What is TWS? Wherever you listen to dope podcast.
Nice.
Sounds great. And then finally, would you be willing to share a message from your heart? It doesn't have to be about today's subject. It could be about today's subject, but from your heart, anything you really want people to know.
Yeah, September is one of those. There's a bunch of, I guess, themes to this month. I understand it's like Suicide Prevention Month,
Yes.
and it's a addiction and recovery month. I shared some things about overdose, being a preventable death. I just want to say that with the pandemic and everything that's going on, if you know people that struggle with mental health issues or addiction issues, a lot of them have not had access to the thing that keeps a lot of us going, which is connection and community. Meetings and things like that are not as in person, or is not as easily available in person as they used to be. So if you know someone that struggles with these things, just reach out to them. And it doesn't have to be on how you're doing. You could be reaching out to them to vent about what's going on with you. They may just need a break from being in their own head, and just a connection with somebody else. So you definitely could be saving a life. Just reach out to your friends or reach out to anybody. Just let's stay connected.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. Let's stay connected. Yes. Thank you so much, Jared.
Thank you. This has been good.
All right. Thank you guys for listening or watching, and we'll see you next week.
Today's life lesson is inner conflict. If you're in the habit of avoiding conflict to keep the peace, oftentimes you start a war inside yourself. Let's be real. Most conflict is not about surface issues. It's usually about one's unsaid, untreated, or unhealed wound. The only way through conflict is to confront it, face it, and deal with it. Don't try to sweep it under the rug. It's not going to work. Don't try to push it off. It's not going to work. The only way it's going to work is if you work through it, acknowledge it, and handle it. And that is today's life lesson.